Hey guys, today's story is about a game that was a bit of a close call. I've played both online and in person throughout my gaming career, and in this particular story, I was in rural Texas at the time, playing an in-person game my friend was running. We were starting at level 1 in Pathfinder, and we were going to have some fun in the city of Absalom. And since my friend and I were still living with our parents, two of the players volunteered to let us play at their house, and it seemed like a good idea at the time. The people involved in the story were myself, with me being a college-age student and working at Walmart at the time, and I was playing a half-orc witch. A friend of mine as the GM, and we'll just refer to him as DM, he was also in college. Then we had the cleric, who was a friend of a friend, who we will be calling Dan, and was also in college, but overall not very important to the story. Then we had a guy called Bob. He was an army veteran, and, well, you'll learn about him. He was 30-something years old, big guy, intimidating, combat experience, and he played a barbarian or ranger. I don't honestly remember. And then we had Lisa, who was Bob's wife. I believe she was also ex-army, and you'll learn about her too. Also 30-something years old, and intimidating in her own right. She played a half-elf rogue. Now, we had been playing with Bob and Lisa at the local gaming store, off and on for our time, and that whole gaming store was basically just cursed. We played a few board games, card games, party games, etc., and they were kinda quirky. Bob was a big soldier dude with some bravado, and Lisa had quite a bit of bravado herself. I distinctly remember the two of them giving a long speech about how women can absolutely pee standing up in the context of some board game, and I remember that they were loud and proud of it. But that's nothing to be worried about by itself. Kinda weird, but full of enthusiasm. Anyway, we needed a place to play, and Bob offered his house. And he said he had a great big table that could fit 6 people just fine, as we were considering getting a 6th player eventually. My house wasn't an option, and the DM's wasn't either, and Dan's apartment was over an hour's drive from our town, so Bob and Lisa's house seemed like a pretty good place to play at. It was not, in fact, a good place to play at, and for the next part, I will create a concern counter, which will currently rest at 0. And now, onto the thick of the story. The DM and I drove down to the place together, and if I recall correctly, I was the one driving, and my friend DM was on the phone getting directions. The directions were a little bit vague, and he commented offhandedly when we finished, something along the lines of, "Oh, by the way, Bob said he didn't want us to tell anyone where he lives." Why? Something about legal trouble? I don't know. Mild concern. Well, whatever. I figured the guy was joking or something. Anyway, after a while we finally found it, and we started pulling into the driveway. And immediately some Alaskan huskies started barking at us. So we decided to stay in the car, because they were big dogs. So we called Bob, and he came out, shushed the dogs, and let us in. We settled on in the house, and the dogs came up during the conversation. We told him that they were beautiful dogs, to which they laughed and said that they could kill a person, and then reiterated it in a more serious tone, saying that they were trained, and they absolutely could kill a person. The house itself, at least, was nice, and we were quickly asked by Bob and Lisa to make sure we weren't followed, and they reiterate that it was really important that we didn't tell the police about them, but they wouldn't say why. At this point, I should have just left, but I got the distinct sense that if I tried to leave then, I'd have been asking for a crazy couple to do something to me. I also don't think my cell phone was charged, so we were there for the long haul. So we settled in. And again, the house was nice, and the table was as big as it was suggested. And then I learned that this guy had guns in his house. Even more concerned now. But we kept going, and the DM and Dan didn't seem that concerned about anything yet. And then we finally started playing the game, introducing the characters, etc. And eventually we started the adventure. But at some point during that adventure, there was a rules argument between the DM and Bob. DM simply said that he was, well, the DM, and Bob said it was his house. At around this point, I just wanted the game to be over, and Dan and the DM started getting concerned. Even me going to the bathroom made me feel tense. But eventually, during some adventuring, I almost actually forgot that the weirdness was happening. We ended up fighting some weird fish people. Perhaps Sahuagin or something else. I don't remember. But while we were playing, we found some treasure. And amongst said treasure was a magic scroll. And I brightened up at this, as my witch could totally use that. I suggested as much, and everyone agreed. Except for the half-elf rogue. The half-elf rogue simply responded with, "I have UMD." To which I said, "But I can learn the spell from the scroll." Now, at most tables, we might have negotiated a little over what one of us might have given up from the treasure in return for the scroll. But instead, I got an answer along the lines of, "Firstly, it's my house. Secondly, my character can kick your character's butt. Thirdly, you're in my house." And the way she spoke was that of someone who was threatening someone else. I remember her husband posturing at his seat as if he was ready to whoop someone's butt. And with the presence of those big dogs nearby, and the knowledge that there were firearms in the house, and the fact that these people were actively telling us not to tell the cops about them, things got incredibly concerning. And as a reminder, Bob was a military man with combat experience. I had gotten into one physical altercation in my entire life at this point, and I was tubby. The DM was tubby, and Dan was a skinny little Christian lad who wouldn't hurt a fly if it crapped in his eye. And we were being threatened by two 30-somethings who were taking the game to "I will hurt you if I don't get what I want" points. So I let her take the scroll, and we finished the game. The DM and I drove home, and as we did, I told him very plainly, "We are not associating with these people ever again. And if we ever see them at the game store again, we are leaving immediately." We never did speak with them again except for maybe once. We just cut off contact completely, and told them that the DM couldn't run the session anymore. And that was that. Nowadays, I refuse to go to anyone's house unless I know them dang well. Well guys, the only thing I have to say to this is be careful out there. And if you get really bad feelings off of someone, kinda like how this story gave off, very well should leave at the soonest opportunity where they aren't going to try to prevent you from leaving. All in all, the story didn't get too bad, but the general thought that you very well might be attacked for very little reason over a game of D&D, as well as being very far away from any potential help, is a very uncomfortable idea. But in any case guys, that's the end of the video. And if you would like me to narrate a story, let me know. And if you want to hang out and chat with other people, I have a Discord link in the description. And again, stay safe out there guys.